Hey everyone, welcome to the Burnt Brass Homestead channel. This is part 3 of traveling with our own food and water. In part 1, I tested how long food can remain cool using a cheap cooler and some ice and homemade ice blocks. In part 2, we traveled with our own food in the cheap cooler with the homemade ice blocks. In this video, we travel with our own food using a 12-volt refrigerator powered by the car while traveling and by solar panel at the campsite. I also show me cooking and preparing meals, as well as how we maintain good hygiene while en route to our destination and at the campsite. I also wanted to test how much power the refrigerator would draw from the EcoFlow river and how long the EcoFlow could power the refrigerator on its own. This was important as the solar panels we will be taking on the trip could only recharge the EcoFlow during the day, so the EcoFlow would need to be able to power the refrigerator all night. However, my testing was a little flawed because the portable power station was not fully charged. Looking at the video footage showed that it was only 79% when I plugged the refrigerator into the power supply. But the good news is that the refrigerator did run for 8 hours before the EcoFlow reached 1% or dropped to 1%. This EcoFlow river is on the lower level of portable power stations. It was originally purchased to keep phones and small electrical devices charged during power outages. So if you have a better power station, expect much better results. And lastly, I unplugged the refrigerator for approximately 40 minutes to test how long or how well the refrigerator would retain its temperature. Unfortunately, it was getting late and we were ready to travel the next day, so all of our testing at this point was concluded. The refrigerator seemed to have held its temperature at least for the 40 minutes of that particular testing. The thermometer read 39, but in the video it reads 40, and that's because the door was left open while I grabbed the camera to start recording. I packed some okra from the garden. The okra did really well this year. I saw these organic simple ingredient sausages in the market and I wanted to try them, so I bought 2 packs and packed those as well. There is some cheese for our cheese eggs and some butter. Every multi-day trip starts with food to eat while we travel. In this case, I fried some chicken and my husband made some fresh bread the day before to make sandwiches to go with the fried chicken while we were traveling on the road. This is leafy greens like Swiss chard, collards, and kale to go with our morning breakfast. Block cheese for cheese and cracker snacks in the evening. Yep, this is baked macaroni and cheese. We have cabbage, pre-cooked roasted potatoes. Watch my video on how our potato harvest went. There is also some baked chicken, Salisbury steak, homemade breakfast sausages, a slow cook roast, homemade pesto sauce using basil from our garden, as well as onions and various peppers from the garden. The 12-volt refrigerator was plugged into the back of the vehicle and the wire run to the front where the refrigerator sat on the chair. I don't have video of how the refrigerator and tote filled with our shelf-stable food, plates, utensils, snacks, and other items were positioned in the vehicle. But these items were packed last and easily accessible without having to stop the vehicle to get items from the refrigerator or snacks and supplies from the tote. The vehicle only supplies power to the refrigerator while we are driving. However, the refrigerator has enough insulation to remain cool when the car is off, as we make quick stops at gas stations, rest stops, or when we are doing a little bit of sightseeing. We travel with our own well water, and this is us refilling our reusable containers at a stop. The water tote is one of the last items packed in the back of the vehicle. We do not have to move anything to get to it. We try our best not to waste our drinking water when traveling for anything but consumption. But there are occasions when we may need to wash our hands, face, or whatever. If we are unable to stop at a gas station or hotel, then that is when we will use the drinking water that we bought on a trip. Otherwise, the water is used for drinking and cooking only. We bring the refrigerator in the hotel to keep it powered overnight as well as to grab items we need to prepare our meals. And this is me making sandwiches for dinner while at the hotel. Once at the campsite, the 12-volt refrigerator was plugged into the 288-watt EcoFlow river, and the EcoFlow river was plugged into the 160-watt solar panel. Again, the power station that I have is one of the lower models within the EcoFlow family. It was not purchased with the intent to power a 12-volt refrigerator overnight. Nonetheless, the power station did a good job at powering the refrigerator throughout the night until the sun appeared the next morning. We had to reposition the solar panels a few times a day as the sun moved across the sky to get optimal power from the sun. Even on partially cloudy days, we pulled enough power from the sun to power the EcoFlow or to recharge the EcoFlow. However, there were a couple times we ended up topping off the power station by using the car just to make sure the refrigerator was powered throughout the night. Looking back at the footage from the trip, I noticed that I did not display the full setup of my simple outdoor kitchen, but you can see the portable 2-burner stove that I'm cooking on. Off to the side, I have the camp table that you saw in part 2 of this series. Except this time, the stove isn't sitting on top of the camping table since we bought the legs to the portable stove this time around. And lastly, there is a canopy that everything is under, which is providing protection from the rain if it did so, which it didn't on this trip, as well as the hot sun. This is the food that I cooked on the trip. You can bring whatever is easiest for you. For example, you can bring packs of freeze-dried food. That way you do not have to use a refrigerator or require a refrigerator. I did a video on making my own freeze-dried food for a previous camping trip, so I will link that to this video. However, the last few times going camping, I just decided that I wanted to bring mostly fresh, perishable foods from the homestead. Now, sisters, I am not trying to put more work on you, but cooking outside on a nice day with a view of a pond, lake, stream, or waterfall, and then topping that off with a forest as a backdrop, you can't get any better than that. It's simply beautiful and peaceful. Plus, as I mentioned, some of the food that I bought was pre-cooked at home, so all that I had to do was simply warm it up. And think about it. What else is there to do when you are camping or outdoors? It takes me about 40 minutes to an hour to cook and clean up per meal, depending on the meal. Cleanup is quick because we use disposable plates and utensils. Speaking of cooking, you do not need to spend money on a fancy 2-burner stove for a campsite. I'm going to do another video showing some of the other ways we cooked while we were here at the campsite and how to cook outdoors in general. Cleaning off-site is so much different than cleaning up at home. At home, you can walk over to your sink, tub, or shower. At a campsite, you have to fetch your own water, then carry it back to where you need it. One thing I can say is you waste far less water when you have to fetch your own water outdoors for cleaning. At home, a lot of people leave the water running. The way I had to get water to wash the dishes, I also got water to wash up. Although there were showers where we were located, we washed in our own tents on a few occasions. We fetched the water, warmed it on the stove, then washed and disposed of the water. by simply tossing it outside. And to conclude the trip, here I am cooking breakfast at the hotel. The hotel where we stayed had a small kitchen area. However, if the hotel did not have the little kitchen area where we stayed, I could have used the single burner to prepare a simple breakfast. And if cooking was absolutely not allowed in the hotel, then I could have simply used a single burner to make a quick meal outside by the car. The 12-volt refrigerator cost about $110, which today is about the cost of a family of 6 eating dinner at a Chick-fil-A. The EcoFlow River cost about $200, and the solar panel on sale cost about $160. If these things are not in your budget at the moment, well, guess what? You do not need to spend any money to purchase any of these items, simply to travel with your own food. That is the very reason I started off with parts 1 and 2 of this series, which basically proves you can travel with your own food for next to nothing and save much while traveling. Not to mention the peace of mind that you know exactly what you are eating and what you are feeding your family. If you watch any of my videos, you will come to know that I try to offer solutions that are affordable as well as those that are convenient for people that can spend a little extra money. So my goal is to not leave anyone out. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it proved to be useful to you. If so, like the video. That is by far the best way that you can support this channel. Thanks for watching.